Welcome to the Money Mindset and Habits podcast.
Great to be here.
Today we're embarking on a really fascinating exploration. It's an idea that could genuinely reshape how you view your financial goals and, maybe more importantly, your current sense of well-being.
That's right. We're going to dive deep into this concept that feeling rich, well, it isn't necessarily tied to a specific number in your bank account.
Exactly. It seems to come from somewhere more personal, maybe unexpected, your own mind, essentially.
It's about the mindset, not just the math.
And to really get into this, we're looking at the experience of someone named Daniel. He worked incredibly hard, very diligently, to reach a pretty big financial benchmark, 6 figures in savings.
Which is a goal many people aim for, right?
Absolutely. And you'd think the conventional wisdom is hitting that goal would bring this, profound sense of relief, accomplishment, security.
That's definitely the expectation. We set these financial targets and we sort of imagine crossing that finish line automatically unlocks this lasting feeling of safety and control.
Yeah, that I've made it feeling.
But the reality, as we often find, can be, well, a bit more nuanced, less straightforward.
And for Daniel, that expectation just didn't quite land. When he finally saw that 6-figure balance, instead of feeling elated, he experienced, well, honestly, a surprising lack of strong positive emotion.
Really? Not even satisfaction?
There was maybe a fleeting moment of relief, he said, but it was almost immediately overshadowed by this persistent, undercurrent of anxiety. He actually found himself almost paralyzed by the fear of spending any of it.
Wow, okay, so that's the disconnect right there.
Exactly. What makes his experience so compelling, and what we see reflected quite often, is this gap between hitting the external goal and the internal feeling.
He reached a milestone many people strive for, yet those feelings he anticipated, security, freedom, they just weren't there in the way he thought they'd be.
So why? What's going on there? A really crucial piece, it seems, lies in looking back at his formative years.
The upbringing, always influential.
Definitely. Like in so many similar stories, his childhood played a huge role.
Yeah.
In his house, money was apparently a constant source of tension, of worry. His parents worked extremely hard, but conversations about finances were often, filled with stress. So he inadvertently learned that money was scarce, difficult, maybe even something to be anxious about.
Precisely. And those early experiences, they have such a profound, often unconscious impact on our adult money beliefs and behaviors.
You don't even realize it's happening.
Not at all. Daniel, without consciously knowing it, internalized this idea that even having money didn't automatically mean feeling safe. The whole topic was linked to anxiety, maybe potential conflict.
So those subconscious beliefs just get baked in.
Deeply ingrained, yes. And they shape his emotional responses later on, even when his financial situation objectively improved.
So fast forward to him hitting 6 figures.
Yeah.
His rational adult brain is saying, logically, this should make me feel secure.
Right. The numbers add up.
But his emotional brain, the one conditioned way back when, still connected money to unease, to fear. He apparently tried to counteract it by working even harder, aiming for more. But that underlying feeling just stubbornly remained.
And this perfectly illustrates what's often called the moving target phenomenon. I'm sure that came up.
It did, yeah. It's this idea it would create these mental checkpoints, right?
Exactly. Once I earn X amount per month, then I'll feel comfortable. Or, once I pay off all my debt, my worries will vanish.
Once I hit this savings goal, then I'll feel successful.
Yeah.
We set these milestones, totally believing they'll deliver lasting contentment.
But as we often find out the hard way,
Yeah.
once we get close to or even past these targets we set ourselves, the goalposts just shift.
Suddenly that income doesn't feel quite enough anymore.
Or being debt-free just reveals new financial anxieties you hadn't considered.
Or hitting the savings goal makes you worry about inflation. Or did I invest it right? Or something else.
Precisely. If that fundamental mindset, that scarcity or fear, isn't addressed deep down, no amount of external financial success will ever truly feel like enough.
Which is why it becomes so critical to sort of redefine what rich actually means to you on a really personal level, going beyond just the money.
Yes. And the source material gave some great examples from Daniel's journey on this. For him, that feeling of being rich started to show up in small ways.
Like what?
Like being able to take a Friday afternoon off work without feeling crushed by guilt.
Oh, okay. That's tangible.
Or savoring small pleasures, like buying a really good cup of coffee and actually leaving a generous tip without agonizing over it.
Simple things, but meaningful.
And also the feeling that came from knowing he had the capacity, the means to help out a friend who was going through a tough time. That felt like wealth to him.
That shift in perspective is so powerful, isn't it? It moves the focus from just a number on a screen to actual lived experiences, real feelings of freedom, generosity, ease. It really makes you, the listener, stop and ask, okay, what does rich truly mean to me beyond the digits?
Is it time? Freedom?
Yeah.
Choices? Security?
Is it having more time for passions? Or the freedom to make choices that align with your values, feeling secure enough to maybe take a calculated risk?
And once you start to articulate your own personal definition, the next step, like Daniel found, involves actively doing what the source called abundant action.
Abundant action. Okay, what does that entail? It sounds expensive.
Huh? No, not necessarily. It's not really about extravagant spending. It's more about consciously taking small, intentional actions that cultivate those internal feelings of security and control.
Ah, okay, like practice.
Exactly. It's like gently retraining your nervous system to feel safe with abundance, to associate it with well-being, not just anxiety.
So Daniel's examples, you said they were modest.
Yeah, but really impactful for him in this rewiring process. He made a point of scheduling a massage, something he previously saw as totally frivolous.
An act of self-care he wouldn't normally allow himself.
Right. And taking himself out for a weekday lunch, just enjoying a simple pleasure without that internal debate about whether he'd earned it or deserved it.
So these weren't about splashing cash, but deliberate signals to himself.
Precisely. Signals that it's okay to enjoy the fruits of his labor, to invest in his own well-being.
It makes you think, what small, guilt-free actions could you integrate into your life right now? What might foster that sense of security or control?
Maybe it is treating yourself to that small luxury you usually talk yourself out of.
Or just carving out uninterrupted time for a hobby you love.
Or even simpler, just taking a few moments each day to consciously notice and appreciate the abundance you already have. Your health, relationships, skills.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's about consciously shifting from that default mode of restriction and fear to giving yourself permission to feel a sense of ease, even in small ways. And as Daniel kept practicing this, he started to bump up against and challenge his own self-imposed money ceiling.
Ah, yes, that invisible barrier.
That limit we subconsciously create around what we think we're allowed to have or enjoy.
And that marks a really significant shift in perspective, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, instead of his main focus being just protecting the wealth he'd built up.
Which comes from that fear place.
Exactly. His internal questions started to change. It became less about defense and more about, okay, how can I strategically use this money to further my personal growth, to enrich my life experiences?
That's a huge shift from protection to expansion.
It really is. It opens up a whole new way of thinking, moving from that defensive financial crouch to a stance of growth, possibility, opportunity.
It's about reframing money then. Not just something to hoard because you're scared of losing it,
Right.
but seeing it as a dynamic tool.
Yes. A tool you can use skillfully for personal development, creating memories, helping others, just bringing more joy and ease into your daily life.
You know, for folks wanting more strategies on this, we do have our YouTube channel, Finance Tips. It's worth checking out for practical ideas on building these healthier money habits and mindsets.
Absolutely. And this brings us right to a core idea that probably ran through all the source material. Your fundamental beliefs about money. They have a massive influence.
Not just on what you do with money.
No, maybe even more importantly, on how you feel about your financial reality. If you're carrying around these deep-seated beliefs that money is inherently scary or stressful or just bound to disappear,
Then you'll probably operate from that place of scarcity.
regardless of the actual numbers in your account, it's the feeling that dictates the experience.
But the flip side is, if you consciously start to cultivate the belief that money can be a positive force,
A tool for growth, for joy, for G's, for generosity.
then your whole financial landscape starts to shift, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Both inside and out.
And the truly empowering message here, the thing I hope listeners really take away, is that this feeling of being rich, it's not some far-off destination you finally arrive at after hitting a certain number.
It's not.
No, it's a state you can actively cultivate right now, in the present moment. It's embedded in those everyday choices you make with your money. It's in the way you talk to yourself about your finances, that internal monologue.
Self-talk is huge.
Huge. It's in practicing gratitude for what you already have, actively looking for the abundance that's already there. And it's about trusting your own journey, appreciating where you are right now.
So it's about practicing richness now, whether that's I don't know, mindfully enjoying your morning coffee without guilt,
Yes.
or choosing positive affirmations about your finances instead of negative ones.
Or just pausing to appreciate the resources you do have instead of constantly focusing on what's missing.
It's an active practice. And on that note, the source material had some really potent reflection questions for you, the listener.
Yes, these are worth sitting with. First, what does rich mean to you really mean beyond just the numbers?
Okay, get personal with that definition.
Second, what old beliefs about money, maybe from childhood like Daniel, are you possibly still carrying around, even if they don't serve you anymore?
Identifying those hidden scripts.
And third, where are you maybe waiting for permission from hitting some goal, from someone else to feel secure and abundant, instead of deliberately practicing it right now?
Oof, that last one is powerful. Waiting for permission.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? I really encourage you to take some time with those questions.
Those are such crucial prompts. Getting clear on your own definition of rich and spotting those limiting beliefs, that seems like the essential groundwork for building this richer mindset.
Absolutely. And the key thing to grasp is you have the power, the agency, to start practicing feeling secure and abundant right now, today.
In your current circumstances.
Exactly. It's not about waiting until some future milestone magically grants you those feelings. You cultivate them from within.
For more insights and practical ways to do this, again, do check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Finance Tips. We share content regularly aimed at helping you build that positive mindset and take control.
So the big takeaway from this deep dive, I think, is pretty profound. It's this. You're not really just chasing a number. What you're ultimately chasing is a feeling.
That's it. The feeling.
That feeling of being rich, of feeling secure, of feeling in control. And that feeling, it starts inside you. It takes root within your mindset first.
So really consider the ideas we've talked about today. Think about how you might start to redefine what rich genuinely means in your own life for you.
And start small. Start practicing those little acts of abundance. And gently but firmly challenge those limiting beliefs about money when they pop up.
Because true wealth, it really does encompass so much more than just your bank balance, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. At its heart, it's about your mindset.
Thank you for listening to the Money Mindset and Habits podcast.